Okay, if you folks don't mind yourself putting yourself on mute unless you've got a question or anything like that, just in case of background noise, please and thank you. So, hello, I'm Scarlett. For anyone who doesn't know me, Becky and Keanu are also in the call. I believe, oh, Sarah's here as well. That's good. So yeah, Charlie has asked me to step in and lead the player briefing for this evening. It should be fairly straightforward if you've been to one of our games before. If you haven't, then no question is a silly question. I think Becky should be monitoring the chat, and I'm sure that our returning players will also help you as well. Becky is recording, I believe, so the video should be out in a couple of days for folks who've missed it, very helpfully subtitled as well. Okay, so first off, in the very basic information that we have on here is who we are as a team. So as kind of like the very basic stuff, you've got the big bosses who are Charlie, Andy, and Ellie. Charlie and Andy are the two people who be overseeing all of the crew side of things this event. And Ellie will be playing Juliet, who will be one of your leaders over in the IC area. So you should be able to find one of the big bosses no matter where you are on site, essentially, as long as it's during referee hours. The med refs, so in and out of character, people who are responsible for anything medical. So obviously first aid is the primary purpose, but also anything to do with medical research if you're playing a scientist or anything like that. It goes through Sarah and Eddie Gladders, who will be found in the med bay area of the in-character area. Out of character mental health will be down to Becky and myself at this event. Becky is going to be spending a bit more time over in the player area at this event, and I should be over in the crew hut or who knows, somewhere on site. So yeah, if you need any sort of mental health support, it's going to be quite a heavy event when it comes to trigger warnings and things like that. There will always be trigger warnings on either documents, like in kind of big bold letters, OC note hyphen, here's your trigger mark, trigger warning mark, or it will be on a door, perhaps. It should all be fairly obvious to you. If ever you have any questions, obviously find a ref and we can clarify kind of more specific context into a trigger warning if needs be. That being said, obviously you're back at the jail this event, so it's going to be faithful and faithless focused, hence a lot of religious roleplay. If that does, if you know for a fact that that will likely trigger you, then please make yourself known to Becky or myself, and we'll kind of do our due duty and keep an eye on you throughout the event. We have pyros again, yay! So as it's the last event at the jail, we will be using smokes, so smoke grenades, and that's pretty much it as far as pyros go for us. Because it's lambing season, Charlie's made the decision that we're not going to be using any bangs. So the only pyros that should be being used by yourselves are pyro smokes. So the head of safety for that is Keanu, who will be in charge of all of the pyrotechnics at the event. Weapons safety, so weapons checking and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, we will call on anyone who's done any sort of weapons checking in other LARP systems. But the person that has the ultimate say yes or no on things is going to be Andy, because that's that's his thing. So that should give you the rough overview of who the team are and what they're responsible for. Photographers. So we do have 2 photographers with us at this event, thankfully. So hopefully we should get some shots all round. It's going to be pretty good weather from what I can see. I've jinxed it now though, I'm sure. So we should get some good photos. We do have Ben Smith with us and obviously our old reliable Eleanor as well. When it comes to photos, you can obviously speak to the photographers or to us about not sharing any images of you online. we're well aware that people present in certain ways at our games that they wouldn't necessarily want publicised. This is a safe space for you. So yeah, just let us know if we need to speak to photographers about anything. So timings. Timings when it comes to God. So you can be on site from midday on the Friday, but God will not open until 4 p.m. There'll be crew available throughout the event in God, or you can also use the mini God in the game area with any referee that you can find. Doesn't have to just be Becky, but chances are it'll be Becky. So the timings for those are on Friday, it will be between 4 and midnight. That's 4 p.m. obviously. And then Saturday will be 9 a.m. till midnight. And then Sunday will be 9 a.m. until timeout. No, if you die on the walk-off, we will not be re-rolling your character. We can deal with that when we get home. But of course, we will be speaking to you if you need to have any sort of conversations or things like that afterwards. So, those are the referees, all of the boring stuff. Trust me, there's more boring stuff to come. But that's the kind of broad strokes of it. Referee timings. So, during, we call it referee hours. So during these times, you can craft, you can ask us questions, you can do anything game related that you would need to do. So research, make a blueprint, I don't know, something like that. That is between 9 a.m. and 1 a.m. on Saturday. So obviously Friday will be from time in until 1 a.m. and then Sunday will be from 9 a.m. until we time out after whatever happens at the end of the event. Fabulous, no questions, lovely. So moving on to site information. If you've been to the jail before, it is the exact same as how we've used the jail before. If you haven't, then all you need to know about the jail is that it's a decommissioned prison. It's a low security prison, very old, and this is its last event, last LARP event at least, before they shut doors because the council have taken it off of them, unfortunately. So we're going to use the site to its full potential, but obviously there are some health and safety things that we'll just quickly run through. So smoking areas, you can smoke outside on the site, even though it is a derelict building and condemned in places. You must not smoke inside because people have asthma and other sorts of breathing difficulties. There will be some ashtrays and hopefully a fire bucket around the front of E block, which is the player base area. You ideally you need to be away from any sort of doors leading in and out of the building itself. Think of it like if you were smoking at a hospital. So you need to be away from the doors enough so that people can comfortably move in and out of the building without having to breathe in your smoke. So fires, as in actual fires, this does not include gas fires. So actual fires, including barbecues, are not allowed at the site. It's way too much of a headache to us to try and police that. So please do not bring any sort of fire pit or anything like that. However, cooking gas stoves can be used. They can be used inside or outside as long as they are lifted from the floor so that they don't mark the floor, and as long as they are watched whilst in use and then turned off when not in use. So hopefully that makes sense about the gas cooking stoves. As far as heaters go, if you are looking at bringing a gas heater, don't use it in an enclosed space or in your tent if you're camping. You can use kettles and things like that. You can bring all of that stuff with you. But we do recommend that you bring an extension cable, as a lot of the plugs are quite high up on the wall. If it's one of those big ones on a ream, you need to fully unfurl it so that the cable doesn't overheat, and it must be unplugged at the wall when not in use. So personally, I don't trust the switches there. A lot of the electrics in the building are very old. Some of the rooms don't have electrics at all, so please do bring lighting and extension cables so that you're not disappointed if that's something you're relying on. Environmental awareness. So wildlife at this site is beautiful. Honestly, we've seen some really lovely lambs over the corner of the site. There's also lots of small wildlife. So there's lots of hedgehogs and things like that. Obviously, it's the season for it now. Especially on the field, please, please, please watch your footing. We'd rather that you use the Lucky Escape or anything like that, which we'll explain in a second, than potentially harm wildlife. So bring lighting if you're knowing that you're going off of base at night time, so that you can, make sure that you're not going to accidentally step on anyone or anything. Make sure that you are being responsible with your rubbish. Obviously, we do have a plan for an NPC to come in and help you deal with your rubbish, but please do separate it into recycling and general refuse where possible, and please do take a bag of it home if you can, because we will appreciate that very much. So pyros, I'm just going to touch on that again. If a pyro is on the floor, do not touch it, even if you think it's fully gone. And by gone, I mean it's fully burnt out. Do not touch it if it's on the floor. Even if you think you're clearing up and being helpful, do not touch it. I don't know how many times I need to say that. Do not touch pyros on the floor. They can be unpredictable at the best of times, but that being said, they can also be really, really fun. So things that you might see at this event, you might see white smoke, you might see green smoke, you might see blue smoke. Those are the ones that actually have effects in game. So green smoke is obviously spore gas, blue is the stun gas, and white is just to obscure vision. If there's a different coloured smoke, it is just that colour and it has no impact whatsoever in the game. So if you might see purple or orange or black or anything like that, it is just that colour, nothing else. So please don't worry that we've introduced a new rule. That being said, obviously we can't use green smoke inside in really small areas. So the thing that we trialled last event with the green light will be back at this event. So if ever you go into a room or an area that is lit with green light, it is the same as green smoke. So it is full of spores and will come with all the associated effects that come with that. So including med cards and including potential damage as well, if you don't have any sort of respiratory protection. If you do struggle with colour, please let us know, and we'll do our best to signify what colour is what when certain encounters go out. Obviously, I've already said there's no bangs at the event. Shouldn't really be bringing them anyway, but if you have planned or packed any sort of bangs, then please don't. Toilet locations and toilets in general. A toilet is a toilet, folks. I think we all know that. Please treat them with respect, but also just use whatever toilet you need to. None of us care. So there is a plumbed toilet, which is, I believe, is step-free access to get to. That is in the crew hut, which is just by G block on the map. So it's a little bit of a walk, but it's an actual plumbed toilet. There are no toilets in the E block building, no functional toilets anyway. However, we do have some portaloos that will be placed where they've been before, so just outside of the E block itself. There'll be 2 standard portaloos and 1 accessible portaloo. Should be all topped up with bog roll and things like that, but if ever you find it in a state, then please let us know and we'll try and sort it as soon as we can. Right, we're at the end of section 2. So I'll pause again for any questions in the chat, or if folks want to unmute, you're more than welcome to ask a question that way as well. Yeah, so Guy, please don't worry about, I remembered you're colourblind. Please don't worry about if you misjudge a colour or don't know what the colour is with the smoke. We will always, be able to spot people who aren't reacting appropriately or are looking confused, and we'll just tap you and let you know what's going on. Yes, so our toilet clickers will be back outside of the portaloos, outside E block. Yes, so any sort of smoke will be naturally obscuring. So if it's so Barney's just said in the chat, smokes that are grey/black, does that also count as obscuring? Yes, is the answer. If you're struggling to see through it, that's the intention. Is probably what we'll go with as an answer to that. A toilet clicker is it's a joke from the first event that we ran at the jail. So essentially, it was someone very excitedly, aka Jem, outside of a toilet, torturing one of our players. That does not happen, I will clarify, anymore in small lowercase. Any other questions before we move on? I'll just see a couple of people type in, so I'll just give it a second. Yeah, so there are safe zones and combat zones and things. I'll go into that later on, but obviously it's a lot easier to kind of point at an area when you stood next to it and go, you can fight there, you can't fight there, etc. So that one is definitely going to be better to brief in person. Okie dokes. Moving on. So this section is called self-care/accessibility. Becky, are you on mic, and/or can I tag you in for a second?
I mean, I don't even know what's on the document, so sure, I can guess.
I'll point out what they are. So first, bullet point is trigger warnings.
Cool. So we'll obviously have trigger warnings available. A lot of our crew will be given trigger warnings so that they know what they're going into, but we will sometimes break play to give you trigger warnings if we think it's appropriate, or if we're walking you to an off base location. That's an out of character conversation as we're walking, and we'll give you a trigger warning for that. We try to be mindful of various triggers. Sometimes we won't know something, especially if we don't know what your personal things are. So that if there's any problems and you feel unequipped to handle a situation, or you are given a trigger warning and you're in a situation and you still decide, actually, no, I don't want to be here, we have the lucky escape mechanic, which we'll probably go into a bit more detail later. But it means you can put your finger in the air and just step out of the situation, because your out of character mental health is so much more important than anything else. There will be some trigger warning signs as well that we're implementing at this event, specifically on the chapel, because there will be religious roleplay consistently in that space. And we have some temporary ones that you might find as well. So a room might suddenly have a sign on it. It's an out of character notice. Ignore it in character, but it just gives you a bit of warning. And our refs will also give you those warnings if you're just stepping into a space and you've not realised, that kind of thing. Because there are some delicate topics this event.
Next one on here is the nope.
So the nope feature, essentially, if you are in a situation a bit like the lucky escape one, where you personally might struggle to get out there but your character could, blah blah blah, the nope function is basically, I'm in this emotionally intense situation and I personally, so for example, me Becky, I'm struggling with this, I want to step out of this situation. There's a couple of ways. You can have a card that says nope on it. We have some of those that will be available in God and in Mini God, the little laminated cards you can pick up. You can just put it on a table. The other one is putting your hands over your eyes and just stepping out of the environment. Just step away. You can go off on your own. You can grab a ref. You can grab a friend. That's absolutely fine. Yes, I do struggle with life, Keanu. That is absolutely true. Which is why I'm the best example. But yeah, so again, if you're in a situation and you keep having to use the nope feature, it might be a thing where you maybe need a break, that kind of thing. Come and grab someone like me or Scarlett, and we will kind of help you and support you so that you can re-enter the game safely, that kind of thing.
Next one is the physical contact okay thing and combat.
I think you know more about this than I do because I'm less physically combat orientated.
Fair enough. I'll go through this bit then. So we are a full contact system, but consent is obviously the biggest thing. So the way it works with combat, and I'll demonstrate this, or Charlie will demonstrate this when we get on site as well, during the player briefing there. So if you see your mate on the crew, or you want to do a PvP type style thing with another character, for example, and you want it to get a little bit rough and tumble, that's absolutely fine and entirely system legal. However, you must check in with each other before laying hands on each other at all. So you need to kind of do the OK symbol just above your chest area, and have that confirmation both ways, so that you both understand that you would like to make the fight physical in that way. Some of our infected will be okay with that. If you have any sort of grappling ability or anything like that, please do try and make referees aware so that we can inform our crew so that you can use that ability to its fullest. However, in normal encounters, just like the kind of, is it okay to do this, give you the okay signal, and then crack on, do whatever you need to do. Next bit is sleep and alcohol usage. I'm going to pass that back over to you, Becky.
Please sleep. I mean, it is a 24-hour time-in system. We know that the vast majority of our players and a lot of our crew are sleeping in the actual IC area, so we do know people are going to be up at all times of night. We've got people like Keanu who like to cause problems at about 3 a.m, so things will be happening at any time of the day. That's great, but also a lot of us will have to drive at the end of the weekend, so please try and get rest, even if it's, you know, power naps here and there. Yes, Quinn, you only slept on Sunday, for God's sake. I will shake people if I see you like waning and you need to go and have a nap. If I know that things are going to be a bit quiet, that's partly why I'm going to be in the player area. I can give people a nudge and a steer and say, hey, your group hasn't had any time off. How about you have some time off? Things like that. We'll give you a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, so that you don't miss out on the cool stuff that you want to be involved in, but we also want you to be very mindful of your own limits. And if we think that you're pushing it a bit far, we might just come and give you a nudge and say, hey, you're doing okay, that kind of thing. Alcohol use, we are not a sorry, I just saw a comment of nudge nudge with a sledgehammer and I thought that was quite funny. I must not look at chat while talking. Alcohol usage, we are not a dry event. You can bring, you know, beer, whatever that you want, but we are very big on being safe. So if you have been drinking, please don't then get into fights. If you have been drinking and you know you're enjoying yourself, by all means, be aware of difficult emotional role play, that kind of things. You might be asked by someone to step aside if you seem a bit not unsafe, but maybe not as in control of yourself as you normally would be, because we get to know you all, kind of thing. So we want you to enjoy yourselves, but I don't know why you would come to a post-apocalyptic LARP and get pie-eyed. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it's definitely a choice, both in and out of character, for sure. Next bit is lucky escape. You already touched on it a little bit, but if you just want to fully explain that.
Yeah, so essentially it's if your character would be able to run away from a situation, I don't know, bloater is running at you, and the people that tend to be in the bloater suit is like Andy and Keanu, who are surprisingly quick in that suit. And your character might be very physically able, but maybe you're someone like me who has a chronic illness and would struggle to run away from those two. You can use the lucky escape. You can step out of the area. You should leave the area of the encounter, and you're not coming straight back in. It's not a, you know, this is how you dodge death, that kind of thing. It's there as an accessibility feature that is open to everyone, and hopefully it makes the game a little bit more fun for you, and anyone can then get involved in some dangerous shenanigans.
Indeed. Speaking of good choices, I'll do this one because it's nice and quick. Masks. So masks obviously do need to be used at some points if you are capable of wearing a mask. So what I mean by that is when there are spores or things of that nature, you will likely want to put on a mask so that you don't need to inhale the spores and obviously get the med cards that are associated with that. At my first event when I was a player, I chose for one of those like full-on actual gas masks and then nearly died just by the idea of, oh, this is going to look cool, this is what they wear in the game, or that kind of thing. And it's not always going to be the best decision. So the old kind of fabric masks you used to see in COVID, like all that sort of stuff, they are all perfectly fine. They will all give you the same sort of in-game coverage. And you know what? If you can't wear a mask because of a breathing difficulty, that's fine. If you just if you get a side eye from a ref or whatever, and we're kind of going, how are you doing that? We'll just ask you to explain, and then you can just explain, I am wearing a mask in game, but I can't wear a mask out of character. Hopefully that makes sense. The safety call, I'll do this one as well because it's easy. Safety, if ever you hear safety called by anyone, whether it be a player, ref, or crew, it is an always out of character thing. I know that last time we were at the jail, I had to use it during the fight off with the tornadoes and stuff because we were getting really into it. It was an amazing bit of role play, but unfortunately, someone almost ended up as like Swiss cheese on a bit of the site. So what will happen is you'll hear safety very loudly. We expect you to stop what you're doing and wait for an instruction. You can also give that instruction. So if you're the person who calls safety, for example, you can see something's about to fall, you can then go, look the light, and then we'll shuffle accordingly and then time back in as soon as it's now safe. Becky, do you want to do high com, low com, no com?
Yeah, so generally we design all of our encounters as 3 different types. High com is how it sounds. Likely going to be a lot of fighting between each other if you so wish, or between crew and yourselves. Non-com or no com is there should be no combat in that situation at all. We're not expecting it, that kind of thing. Low com means it can go either way. So yes, they can be a bit fluid when they are encounters, but theoretically they should sit within those things. Usually if we're taking people out on an encounter, if you're taking you off base, for example, I don't know, the jewelers have sent you to another museum or whatever, they will usually give a steer on what it is. And when we do the out of character briefing as we take you to say, this is where you're going to, this is what you will see, this is the type of encounter it is, you can then make an informed decision about whether this is something, 1, your character would be involved in, and 2, whether you personally want to be involved in that. As always, that's where things like Nope and Lucky Escape is also available. So you might feel like you're okay going to an encounter, knowing it's low com, for example. You get there, a big fight kicks off, you suddenly get overwhelmed, use one of those features, and you can step aside, go over to a ref, step out of the encounter, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and the last bit on accessibility is that I have found the notebooks that we have miraculously keep vanishing. So NPCs and crew will have access to notebooks and will write things down for you if you ask them to. Crew, if you are on this call, it will be available in the crew hut. I know we've got a couple of crew on here just to get the deep dive version of all the information. So they'll have a little notebook, or you can give them a bit of paper and a pen. A lot of the information that will be coming out this event is seeding some new things, which is awesome, but also you might want to have them actually write it down so you understand what it is they're saying to you, if you are someone that struggles with processing or things like that as well, or memory. So that is the self-care / accessibility bit. We'll pause for questions as we've just finished another section. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask or pop it in the chat.
All I'm hearing is that we are setting Rachel up to be a clicker in the hotel for Ben, and I support it.
I feel like we don't kink shame, we kink ask why is what I should be saying there.
Yeah, Connor said I'm kink
Yeah,
asking
Connor's just
why.
said it as well.
We never judge.
I mean, you can borrow the mask. You can borrow the mask.
No. What we do is put her in the bloater kit.
I mean, that just feels like a big obstacle.
That's just no.
Please
Like, no
wash
more
it
cleaning would
after.
get me square
Oh
after.
no. Okay,
Yep.
right. We should move on to the next section.
Oh my god. Oh my god. No, I don't want to look at this chat anymore. Okay, right. So site usage. This is the bit where we talk about combat zones and hazards. I'm gonna just roughly go over what is and isn't a combat zone, and what you need, where you need, sorry, to take a ref with you if you're expecting anything interesting to happen. So all of this is going to be so much easier to kind of do in person, where we can point and go, that building there is this, that building there is this. But for now, if you're familiar with the site, this will make sense. If you're not, it won't, but that's okay because it will be gone over on site as well. So the downstairs of E block, which is the player area, is a non-combat zone. That does not mean it's a safe zone. It is a non-combat zone, no physical combat. So you would need to use Let's Take This Outside, which you can use on any crew member to attempt to compel them to come outside so you can fight them. It doesn't work on all NPCs because otherwise the consortium guys would be dead already. But yeah, Let's Take This Outside is for non-combat areas so that you can then do safe combat outside. So anywhere outside is a combat area, no matter where on site you are. E block upstairs, so there's only the upstairs and downstairs really. E block upstairs is a combat zone. So yes, we know there are bedrooms upstairs. The bedrooms are out of bounds for crew. No crew should be going into your bedroom to try and stab you in the dark. That should not be happening at all. But the corridors of the E block upstairs are combat zones, and the common areas are combat zones. They will not be going down the stairs in those encounters, so it would literally just be the corridors and the common areas upstairs. The path around E block, so there's like a paving stone path around E block, which is where the portaloos are. So you walk from the portaloos back to the main door. That is a non-combat area, so that people can go to the loo safely and do what they need to do without having to worry. The attic is a combat zone. E block attic is a combat zone, and you must have a ref to go up there. I will leave that one so that I don't give anything away, but you must have a ref should you wish to investigate the attic. The other two buildings that we use for encounters, F block, which is the middle one, and G block, which is the off-site one we normally use, are both combat zones. Obviously, it will depend on what encounter is going on as to whether it'll be high com or low com. You must have a ref to go to either F block or G block at this event. Normally, you would attribute F block to being a live area. At this event, it is the sewer again. At the start of the event, it will be the sewer, but you must go with a ref if you want anything interesting to happen more than just bimbling about in an empty building. So those are your combat zones. As I say, don't worry about them too much because it'll make more sense when we can point at places on Friday. Hazards. The jail has hazards. It's a lot safer than Driffield or places we've been before. But please bring lighting to use at night. That's not just like the red torches. What I mean by that is please bring lighting. You can hang lighting within the compound, so you can light up the roundabout area out front of E block, and you can also light up the corridor all the way down to the end of the crew hut if you like. As the crew will be bringing lots of lighting, We want to flood the site with lots of lighting this event so that people can see. I think it's the easiest way to explain that. Hazards like broken glass and things. So if you are bringing arrows or any throwable things, please check them each time you use them. Don't just assume that it's fine and throw it again, because we don't want to be dealing with glass in the eye or anything like that. Just whilst I'm speaking about bows, we do have Ellie, who will be the person to go to for bows. If you've brought a bow with you and you want to use it as a character, that's absolutely fine. I know we've got either 1 or 2 this event. Please speak to Ellie as soon as you can after the player briefing, and she will go through some safety stuff with you, hopefully. Right, that's the site usage stuff. E-block is the main bit you'll be staying in. That's the building where all of the cells that I put out for the sleeping arrangements are in. It's your home, essentially. You'll have NPCs coming and going throughout the day, enemies coming and going throughout the day. None of the external doors are barricaded. None of them are welded shut. So you can protect the building however you want to, which will lead us into our discussions on the new rules in a second. So barricades, traps, all of that stuff, you can put that anywhere you want within E-block or the surrounding areas. The field is a encounter zone as well, so you can go off and do things either in F block, G block, or the field at this event. Cool. So last bit is the new rules. So there's a document we put out, I think it was either last week or the week before, which goes through a change log of things that have changed. Not much has changed. The things that have changed are basically improvements. So the barricades and traps rules came into effect last event. So obviously we were going to have to tweak them just after we've play tested them. So what has changed? The barricade timings have all been halved, essentially. So the signs will tell you exactly how long things are and how many people impact the timing by X amount. So it should be a lot easier when you find them on encounters and things, and it shouldn't be taking you like 20 minutes to take apart a door. So that was one thing that we had in feedback that we immediately actioned and just brought down those timings to something more sensible. Revised crafting requirements for all traps, ensuring that they're clear. So on the traps document, which I think Becky has just linked, it has like recipes, essentially the same crafting sort of layout as you would have for the a la carte menu and for the science things and all of the other stuff across the game. It's got a list of ingredients that have to go into each of the traps, and hopefully that's a lot more clear now. So that's just something we brushed up on. I've clarified which characters have which level of trap and how they can be attained in game. So I'll read that out with the second bit and then just give you a rough overview of how it works now. So we've also separated the trap related skills into 2. So it'll be crafting, which is called trapping, and researching new traps, which is a skill only as a part of the inventor archetype. So everyone can do basic trapping. You can do basic trapping. Any of the stuff in the basic trapping list you can make. So in the basic trapping list is stuff like noise alarms and simple tripwires, right? You've been 20 years into the apocalypse. Everyone knows how to do that stuff. So everyone can have that as a general skill. You can choose not to, in the same way that you can choose not to with thirst trapping. In the same way that you can choose not to with any skill in the general skills like musician or anything like that. Intermediate trapping is part of the military and inventor archetype. That's obviously just more complex traps.
So just an addendum to something that Scarlett said during the briefing. Inventors automatically get expert level traps. For military characters, they can take expert traps, but they are required to swap out the skill, which is you can use two-handed or shield. If you would like to do that and you already have a military character and you have those skills, you want to swap it out for expert, please speak to me on site. I can make any changes that need to happen, and then you'll be able to use expert traps at this event. But remember, only inventors can research new traps.
I'm not going to sit here and read you the rules because that's boring, and they're all on either the website or about to be linked in chat by Becky, I'm sure. So there's also going to be copies of the rules available in God, which will be in the crew hut, and in Mini God, which will be in the player area, including the list of things that you need for the crafting recipes and stuff across the board. So if you go, oh, I can't remember how to make a stealth sandwich, for example, Mini God has a list, and then just go into Mini God with a ref and just rifle through that if you need to. So those are the only rules that have changed. Absolutely everything else is the same as it was before. Right, that's the end of what is on here. Are there any questions about anything? Not about life. Don't want to answer questions about your lives. But are there any questions that are pertinent to Divided We Fall, this event? Yes, so from midday on the Friday, you can get onto site. Crew will be immediately roped into doing the van. Players, you'll be directed by my assistant, Holly, who I'm giving them a ride so they can do some work for me, to where your bunks are in the E block. We're aiming for everyone to be off site by 4:30, 5 o'clock on the Sunday. It will totally depend on what time we manage to kick off any sort of final fighting. We normally have time out between 1 and 2, so the last members of the crew should be off site by 4:30, 5. Any more for any more? This is a very efficient briefing. I should do these more often.
Don't say that. You've jinxed it now.
Hello there. So,
Hello.
sorry. You said something about lighting when I came in. Is that no lights on site, or is it just it's gonna be dull lights?
So what I meant by lighting is if you have lighting, anything, whether it be like the battery packs or like fairy lights or actual LEDs, anything that you can bring to site, that would be great. Just so we can light it up a bit more, because obviously it's a lot easier to trip over things in the dark than it is when it's lit.
Cool.
So that was what I said.
Yeah. Nice one.
No worries. Time in will be around 8 p.m. on the Friday. There should normally be a player briefing at about 6:30 or 7, but we will let you know when that will be. That will be outside of the E block, and if it's raining, it will be inside of E block. That will also be when we do all your weapons checks and everything as well. So please do bring your weapons to player briefing on Friday. Any more questions, folks? Obviously, if you do think of any questions between now and Friday, feel free to put them in the questions channel on Discord, or you can also use the Gmail and we can get back to you on there. I've not taken my meds, Ben. Go away.
Please bring your meds. Everyone, please, for the love of God, bring your meds. I should have said it in the self-care section. I know Jem put it in the chat and I forgot to mention it. And water.
I've taken my illegal meds.
Oh, for God's sake. There is no proper running water on site, so please bring plenty of drinking water for yourself. I'm sure there will be some people that will go off site and stuff when they get on site on Friday to go to a big shop and get some water, that kind of things. But we don't provide drinking water, so make sure you bring plenty for yourself, as well as in case you need anything for cooking, that kind of thing.
Yeah, what we normally recommend is at least 2 litres per person per day. Anything we've missed should be on the FAQ, but if it's not, obviously you can let us know. Yeah, bring changes of clothes. It looks to be a dry event majority of the weekend, but obviously last time we were at the jail on the Sunday, it absolutely shat it down. Power banks are good. I'll jinx you in a minute.
Kiana, you're not allowed anything fun, so no, you don't get power armor.
Yes, it's a promise, Junie. I am very excited. Steph is making bread, and now I've said it out loud, she absolutely has to make bread.
Steph.
And it's the type of homemade bread that's going to be great, and I'm looking forward to it very much. Although she is meant to be writing her essay at the moment.
Steph, get on with your essay, but then make bread.
Just to double check, guys, I know we mentioned not being a dry event, and please bring your meds. Consider it smoking. Did we mention about fun cigarettes and all that sort of stuff?
We didn't. If you're on prescribed marijuana, then please make yourselves known to us, because we will ask you to go to a certain area of site. Obviously, the serious answer there is no illegal drugs or anything of that matter, or non-prescription drugs or on site are allowed. But obviously, if you're prescribed marijuana, then that's fine. Just let us know.
Yeah, please, we are being very serious about this. We have several members of player group and crew who are regularly drug checked, and they even secondhand, it can cause them problems and potentially lose their jobs. So don't be a dick.
Yeah, very much
Pretty much.
I feel like that's a great note to end this on. So I'm going to leave that on don't be a dick, and we'll see you all on Friday. Right, thanks very much, folks.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Bye.